And we're live. What's going on, everybody? It's your favorite ex-truck driver in the whole wide world. It is Bitcoin Ben. And tonight, you guys know I usually do my show every morning, 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. And I'm in Kerrville, Texas for the meetup tomorrow. We're anticipating about 400 people at the meetup, so it's going to be great. Um, I wanted to have on a good friend of mine, Robert Cryptobeadles, but everyone knows him as Cryptobeadles. And the reason I wanted to have him on here is is he he is not only the creator of probably one of the best wallets out there, which would be Monarch. Um, he's also a strong advocate for freedom and a strong follower of Christ and a strong patriot, probably one of the strongest patriots in cryptos that we got. He he's an asset to the community and he is an asset to the country. Robert, welcome, brother.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. It's kind words.
No problem. Um, I I want to ask you a few questions. While I got you on here, I don't want to keep you too long. Uh,
No problem.
Number one, from your point of view, where is America? I mean, are we on the brink of what I think we are of either amazing freedom or horrible slavery?
Yeah, so there's a lot to that. People think that we're super divided. If you watch the mainstream media, that's all that you hear is you hear that there's two Americas. But what I really believe, and I truly believe this, that this is the most important election of our lifetimes and probably since Abraham Lincoln, since you have, the ability to either abolish slavery or embrace slavery, have two countries, back in the 1850s, right? So this, I believe, is the most important election of our lifetime, period. And I believe most people would agree with that. When they turn on the news, as corrupt as it may be, you get all these different scenes of, burn, loot, murder, all these supposed people that are embracing, um, you know, the need to abolish racism. When you're really around people, racism really isn't that prevalent. It's this media that's turning this narrative that really isn't true. And what I believe what we're seeing right now is we're seeing kind of like good versus evil. But what people don't understand is the media is very corrupt. And this huge prevalence that they're showing, it's like the country is so divided. I really don't believe it's nearly as bad as what they portray. I believe that it's about 80-20. I believe that about 80% of the country is sick and tired, had enough of all this crazy crap, and they want freedom. They want peace. They want to enjoy, their life with their family, their friends. They want to, be able to go outside, not be, locked in their house. I believe that 80% of people want this, and so that's why I think what you're going to see. No, actually, I know what you're going to see. Come election day, you're going to see the biggest landslide victory in the history of our country. You're going to see the electoral college. There's 538 electoral votes, right? You need 270 to win for the president and the vice president. A lot of people don't understand that the populist vote has nothing to do really with electing the president. It's the electoral votes. Just like in 2016, Trump won against Clinton. He won the electoral college. And that's what's going to happen again on November 3rd. You're going to see it just blow past 270. You're going to see it blow past 350. You may see it, I don't know, 380, 400, above 400. It's going to be the biggest landslide victory because there's so many people out there that are just sick and tired of what they're seeing and what they're having to live through and go through when they know this is all blown out of proportion. Don't get me wrong. There are, some bad people out there for sure. But the majority of people are good. Just like if you look at police, the majority of police are good. there are some few bad apples, and those are the ones that they like to highlight. But that doesn't mean it's all of them. It's just a small segment. Just like with people, most of us are good people. There's a small percentage that are bad. That's why we have prisons. That's why you have to, there's other parties you can join that should be labeled as terrorist organizations. Things like Antifa, and things like some parts of like BLM. If you follow the money, you'll see the money doesn't actually go for what is portrayed, like what it's supposed to go to. It ends up going to, Democrats. It ends up going to these hateful organizations. Not just saying Democrats are hateful, but it goes to organizations that are not helping like the Black communities like they portray. When you actually go beyond the mainstream news, when you go beyond the narrative and you actually look into it for yourself, you don't just take the talking points from CNN or from MSNBC or even from Fox or anybody else. And you actually do the homework like I do, and you actually look into things and you actually read into it and you dive a little deeper, start peeling back layers of the onion, you realize, whoa, these people aren't who they say they are. And then when you start looking at all the things that keep getting exposed every single day, especially here in October, when you look at the levels of deception, when you look at the levels of it's just pure evil. Things like the Biden family. You look at a guy that's been in public service for 47 years. How is it that he's a multimillionaire? How is it that his brother, multimillionaire, his kids, multimillionaires? How is it that they have all this money when they're supposed to be in there working for us? And people are starting to see this, especially with every story that keeps dropping. Now, mind you, Twitter and Facebook and mainstream media, a lot of these people don't want to cover it, but there's other alternative news sources out there where you can actually get the truth and see the documents with your own eyes versus being told by somebody on the mainstream media that, hey, this didn't really happen, or you can't read that stuff for yourself. Only we can tell you what's real and what's not. And that's what they try to do. And so I think enough people are waking up to realize that, hey, wait a minute, like Hunter Biden, this guy, now it's coming out that, he was taking, 1.5 billion from China, millions from Ukraine, millions from Russia, millions from like Costa Rica and, other areas, down south. He's taking all this money, and his dad, according to the text messages, is getting half of it. Biden's brother is making 1,000 homes in Iraq, right? Never built a home in his life. Biden's getting half of that. His brother's making millions of dollars. So people are starting to see this corruption, and they're starting to realize, wait a minute, maybe everything that I've been hearing isn't true. And enough people have woken up, and I don't mean woke like, like the bad term woke. People are waking up, and they're actually seeing for themselves that, hey, wait a minute, maybe there is something to this. I don't want a part of that. And so even if they don't like Trump, they like what he's doing way more than what they're seeing in all these lockdowns and all this craziness that's going on. So it kind of is good versus evil, especially when you look into some of the stuff that these politicians do, both sides, red or blue. They do some crazy stuff, and more stuff is surfacing. The pedophilia that Hunter Biden just got caught with. Rudy Giuliani just is releasing information from Hunter Biden's laptop, and it has it linked to all kinds of demonic and sick things, and all that stuff's coming out. And they're only going to be able to suppress it for so long, and the American people are going to be able to see this, and they're going to be able to judge for themselves who they're voting for on November 3rd. And it's going to be, like I said, the biggest in the history of the world. And it's going to be, we're going to get our country back. I truly believe it. Enough people have had enough, and they're waking up.
Yeah, I actually completely agree that we're basically going to have a Reagan / Mondale landslide, and it's I have a friend up in Washington who is pretty plugged in to what's going on up in Washington. Hey, puppy dog. And according to him, the internal polls at the White House has Trump leading in California. Now, a Republican hasn't won California since Reagan. So if Trump wins California, it's over. It's done. That's the end of the night. Shut off the TV, and that's the type of win that I hear we're at now. As you were saying with the pictures of Hunter Biden and all that, apparently those have been leaked out in Washington, and they're going around Washington, and they're pretty bad from what I've heard. Uh, a lot of young Asian women, uh, uh, and him. And when I say young, I'm talking 12, 13-year-old. And, uh, it's
Disgusting.
that's that, yes.
You look at
And
California, what was
when,
it, AB 235, AB 245, whatever it is, where they make it legal for, somebody that's like 11 years difference, 10, 11 years difference to have sexual relations with kids. So if you're like 21, 10-year-old, no problem. How disgusting is that? That's California. And why would they do that? That's because they know things like this are surfacing. They're trying to protect, Petalwood. They're trying to protect their political friends. These pictures that are coming out, what's her name? Chanel at OAN. Supposedly she has all this stuff as well. Supposedly a lot of people have this stuff. And so, it's going to start coming out. They show the money where Hunter Biden is using that money to actually pay for prostitutes and things like that that are linked to human trafficking. So they actually have the money trail. So not only do the pictures, but they can actually follow the money. And all this stuff's coming out. And it's going to be so hard for the mainstream media to cover this up like they've been trying to do. It's a wrap. If you watch Biden last night, when he was asked by the interviewer, said, if you lose, what does that mean? And he says, well, it means that I did a lousy job and I had a lousy campaign. So right there, he already knows that he lost. He's not saying Russia collusion. He's not saying the Chinese hacked it for Trump. He already knows that he lost. They already know the internal polls. They already know it's over. California is a tough one because I think they passed a law saying they have 17 days to report the results of the election. So I don't know if that holds true with the Electoral College or if that just holds true with the popular vote. But it doesn't matter whether they win California or not. I would love to see that. And I believe that in California, people, the majority support Trump, believe it or not. If you watch, MSNBC or Fox or anything else, they'll never say that. But from the people that I see, from the people that I interact with all the time, thousands of people a week, they've had it. They'll vote for anybody other than what's in place now because they just had it. It's what is happening right now. They can't justify even in their own minds when they look at the data. So what you're going to see is the biggest landslide in the history of our country. It's not even going to matter whether there's California or not, because the internal polls last week, Thursday, had him at 42 states. He'd already won. It's a wrap. It's over. That's like 350 electoral votes already, and he still has like another 18 days or so to go. This election's over. Trump has won in the biggest landslide in the history of this world, and all the Democrats can do right now is kick and scream and try to do as much voter fraud as possible with all these mail-in ballots everywhere, and try to cause some confusion, try to create some doubt, try to create some kind of conspiracy that it's Trump really didn't win, or the House it didn't go red, it didn't stay red, because we have all these votes that are still coming in and we haven't counted them yet. They're going to do some crap like that, but it's not going to matter because Trump is going to win in the biggest definitive win on 11-3 that the country's ever seen. Mark my words. Watch it.
yeah. And what do you see after Trump wins? What do you see the reaction from the left? Do you think we'll have more riots, or do you think that what do you see?
So what we've seen right now with these riots, a lot of these people were paid actors. Okay, so they're actually getting paid to go out there and basically burn, loot, murder. You can see that initially it started off as peaceful. right? And then they got co-opted by these Antifa types. They got co-opted by these Soros funded just terrorists, right? You can see that, like in California, you can see in these other states, these other blue states, they release prisoners. And where do these prisoners go? They go and they get paid and they end up joining these riots. You can see these catch and release things where somebody's arrested and then that same night they're released. This is happening across the country in typically primarily blue states. So you're going to see some of that, I think, for sure, after the election. But I think, they're going to be kicking and screaming. They're going to be in their little death spiral, like when a crocodile grabs you and takes you down and spins you around. It's going to be like that for a little bit, I would imagine. But eventually what you're going to see, I believe, is a lot of arrests. You're going to see a lot of the stuff that comes out with Benghazi and Clinton and Obama and Biden and Brennan and all these cats that, just been doing some evil stuff. Ray, you're going to see, was it Halper with the CIA? You're going to see all these people, over the course of maybe the next year or two get locked up. You're going to see the swamp starting to get drained. I don't think Trump realized how wide and how deep the swamp actually is. And I'm not like this, pro-Trump, type guy, this guy that, worships him or anything like that. What I do is, and I do this in everything in life, is I look at somebody's words and then I look at their actions and then I measure the two. Okay, here's what he said he would do. Here's what he did. And if you do that with any politician, the only one I can say in recent years, since maybe Reagan, that actually does what he says he'll do is Trump. It's undeniable. He said he would do things and he did them. Every time somebody says, oh, he didn't do this or that, then I'll just show them the article where he actually did, but you're not going to find it on MSNBC or anything like that. So again, I think what you're going to see is you'll see like this little, kicking and screaming that's going to go on for a little bit, but then that'll just kind of subside. Then you'll start seeing some arrests. You'll see him start to drain the swamp more. You'll see an amazing next year. I think that you're going to see America get back to what it was founded on and what we all want it to be. And most of us just want to be left alone. Most people just want to live their lives, raise their families, make some money, not deal with crazy oppression and lockdowns and taxes and, have to worry about what kind of phrase you're using because it's politically incorrect this week when last week it was cool. People don't want this stuff. I'm telling you, 80% of the country, this doesn't resonate with them. They don't want this. And so you're going to see the majority, the silent majority, isn't going to be so silent when it comes election day. And you're going to see us get our country back. And it's the jewel of the world, because if America falls, so does the rest of the world. There's nowhere else to go. So like people ask me like, well, you were doing crypto videos and now you're doing, kind of like some political stuff. And you're also doing, some self-help stuff. It's like, well, they're all kind of related. I mean, when I got into crypto, it was 2011. It was because I wanted, basically my libertarian views. I believed in the Constitution. I didn't like big government. I didn't like big banks. I didn't like people messing with, our future. Just like I've been putting people in office for a decade or more, good people, not not bad people, not part of the swamp, people that are out there fighting for us. So it's all kind of related. And so, I'll do more crypto videos, in the future. I'll try to weave some in here and there. But right now, I feel like the major focus of our energy is getting our country back and kind of enlightening people that there is a narrative that is outside of the mainstream media. The mainstream media is controlled by 3 to 6 families. It is TV programming. You are being programmed when you watch the news. I don't care if it's Fox. I don't care if it's MSNBC, I don't care what it is. They are programming you to their agenda. They have talking points. Look into Operation Mockingbird. Started in the 50s. It's only gotten worse. You can look at every single talking head for all these major news stations, and you can see how they're all in bed with deep state actors. They're married to people. You can see that it's just this programming that they're doing to us. And I'm telling you, man, people are tired of it. And you're going to see it on 11/3. And you're going to see, our country going back to being great again. Mark my words.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think the American people, we got a pretty good meter when it comes to horseshit, and the left with the riots and Black Lives Matter and the lies and the the shadow banning and the removing off of Twitter and blocking and all that. The American people see that, and the only reason you block free speech is if what is being said hurts your agenda, and that's why you never hear anyone on the right say, you know, oh no, that person shouldn't, they shouldn't be able to say what they're saying. We love a good argument. Uh, we we understand that you use the the First Amendment, so you don't need the Second Amendment, and that's why we will argue, we will debate, because we work on sharpening our arguments logically, and that's that's where we sit, and that's that's how I see it from my point of view. Now, uh, after the election, do you think Trump goes more on the offensive on achieving his agenda, or do you think that? Uh, well, I don't even need to ask the question. I think he'll actually go more on offense. What do you see him really going after? And will we see arrest? Will we see prosecutions? Will he really drain the swamp?
Yeah, so there's a lot to unpack there. So to start with, the censorship and the banning, you're right. The only people that do that are people like Nazis, right? Where they burn the Bible, right? They're Bible burners. Why? Because they don't want you to believe in something outside of them. They want you to believe whatever their narrative, whatever their programming is. It's disgusting. Where I don't believe in, right versus left. I think that, we're just people. And some people, they just haven't opened their mind yet. They're like Neo before the red pill. They haven't seen what really is out there. And I take a lot of time to learn things, to better myself, to actually dive deep into things and not just listen to what other people have to say, but to find things out for myself. And as you look, you'll see that big tech is in bed with blue, and a lot of deep state actors. So you'll see that, like Facebook and Twitter, they took down the New York Post's article on Hunter Biden. Why would they do that? They allowed the Russia collusion hoax to go on for years, 3 years, 4 years, whatever it's been. All that crazy narrative, all the lies, all the stuff that's been disproven, they allow that stuff to go, but they don't allow something that's truthful, based in fact, with all the documents, the hard drive, everything to prove it. They take that stuff down. They censor it. They take down my buddies on YouTube that talk about anything that goes against their narrative. So I've had like 20 buddies on YouTube just in the past day get removed. Their channels destroyed, obliterated. They're gone. They can't get them back. They launch a secondary backup channel. Poof, it's gone. They're being silenced. They're being, they're not, their voice isn't allowed to be heard. Anybody that has an open mind, anybody that is confident in their beliefs is fine with a good old-fashioned debate. That's what our country was founded on. You have your ideas, I have my ideas. Let's work it out and see who's got the best idea, and whoever's got the best idea wins. That's not what they do. What they do is, if you have an alternative viewpoint, they label you a conspiracy theorist, a tinfoil hat wearing person, and then they censor you, they block you, they ban you, they just, demoralize you and just do nothing but attack you personally. So that is being exposed. People are starting to see that. This will end up stopping, especially when they remove Section 230. So Section 230 removed from the FCC, is that what it is? From the FCC, yeah, Federal Communications Committee. Yeah, so Section 230, when that's removed, big tech will no longer have that ability to not act as a publisher when they're acting as a publisher. So you're going to see big tech get slapped around big time, especially after the election. What is Trump going to do after the election? I believe he's going to have his 4 years. And this is where he doesn't have to worry about re-election. This is where he can do everything that he said he could do. and everything he wanted to do. And if you look at his past, his history, everything he said he would do, he's done. And one thing he keeps saying he's going to do is lock up Crooked Hillary. One thing he keeps saying he's going to do is wait and see what happens to all these bad actors. These people that have been caught in Benghazi, these people, the Hunter Bidens, the Joe Bidens, the brothers of the Bidens, all these people, the Rays, the Comeys, the Brennans, all these people. Oh, did I lose you? Looks like I'm still here, but I don't know if you are, buddy. Looks like I lost you. There you are.
All right, I think I'm back. How is my internet now?
It's actually better than it was. Yeah, your video the last time you were on, it was super pixelated. Now I can see a little bit better.
Okay, good. It's sorry guys, I had to reboot my hotspot. It's if you leave it on a little bit too long, they slow you down. So another question I had for you is you're very open about your faith, as am I. Could you explain how, as a Christ follower, how that anchors your view of America and how the creation of America and the religious part that actually led to the creation of America really feeds your knowledge and your point of view.
Yeah, so me personally, Christian, believe in God. I'd have nothing without him. And our founding fathers were, for the most part, deeply rooted in faith as well. There are some exceptions, like Jefferson. He may not have been a Christian, but he believed in morality. All right. So what Jefferson even did was he took the Bible and took everything that was extraordinary out of it and lived his life by the basic principles within it. So when you look at our founding fathers, they actually molded America. These people were influential. These people were successful. These people were business owners. These people were rich. These people were tired of the tyranny from across the pond. So they came over here to build anew. And they didn't want to have anybody else, kind of corrupted. And they built it on a moral foundation, built around Christianity. And so I believe in whatever you do, if you put God first, things work out for you. You set your plans, but like it says in Proverbs, you set your plans, but you leave it to God to actually, make it happen, right? Paraphrasing, of course. And I think that's what we have here. I think the majority of Americans are based in Christianity of some sort. If you look at the countries that are most prosperous, they're typically ones that are faith-based in Christianity, not Buddhism. Nothing outside of, even if you look at like the Quran or the Torah, when you look at the countries that are super successful, they typically are based in Christianity. They realize there is a creator. They realize that, there's a higher power, and the things that they do here will be judged later. And if you realize that, and you live your life according to the good book, things usually turn out pretty well for you for the most part. I mean, God's blessed the crap out of, me and my family, and I can't complain. And I just, like I said, like it says in Proverbs, make your plans, but trust God, to fulfill them, right? And I think that's what the creators of our country, our founders, not creators, I guess the founders of our country, they put their faith in the creator, and everything turned out pretty well. There's always going to be hurdles. There's always going to be obstacles. There's going to be tough times and things like that, but you can fall back on your faith and usually get through it. So that's what I do, and I believe that most of America is in that same spectrum of thinking. In crypto, I'm a bit of a unicorn. So like yourself, when I go to conferences and when I would deal with people in tech, they looked at me like the crazy person in the room because, I'm a Christian, and most people, they're not. I don't care who you're talking to. For the most part, the big guys in crypto, they're not. So it's a little strange, but at the end of the day, I believe that the majority of us are, and I believe that's why we're going to get our country back. And I believe that everything happens for a reason. And I think that we are witnessing a bit of good versus evil, and we always know good wins in the end, and God always wins. So that's why we're going to get our country back.
Yeah, I actually live my life with the point of view that free will is at the heart of everything. And that's where my libertarian views actually come from. Is is I feel that every man, every woman needs to be free in order to work their way towards Jesus. Because very few people really find their relationship with God without a tragic event or a a hit the rocks on the very bottom, and then you look up and you see God, and you see him smiling and shaking his head, going, you shouldn't have done that. and and that's where my views actually come from. Is we have to have a free society so that we're free to choose our way to the Lord. And without that, uh, a slave that is protected and safe, or viewed as being safe, um, at the end of their life, when they meet God, if they haven't already, uh, they almost have someone to blame. It wasn't me. I was only doing what I was told. Well, unfortunately, my friend, that doesn't cut it. And I think that the interaction of freedom leads everyone to eventually meet God, either in this life or right after.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that you said there, freedom. Now, one of the things that you'll notice right away about any kind of country or any kind of movement, what whenever it's tyrannical, one of the first things that they do is they try to remove God from whatever it is they're trying to take over. So whether it's the Nazis burning Bibles, or whether it's this blue movement keeping churches closed while it's okay to go out and riot in the streets, and they, whether it's pushing, trying to, keep the Jews from going to church, or keep Californians from going to their church. They're trying to keep people away from God. So anytime you see a movement, when that's one of their first things, is they're trying to take God away from you, away from us, away from the people, you know that that's probably not a movement you want to be associated with. Whether you're an atheist or whether you're a Christian, you still want the freedom to be able to choose what you believe in, period. So anybody that tries to take that basic freedom from you, you already know is probably not the movement you want to be a part of, because you'll never be free. You're going to be basically doing whatever, this guy's telling you to do. You won't be able to have your freedom to do anything. And so at the end of the day, that's another reason why I think this is just going to be the big, huge red wave is simply because people just want to be free. They want to be left alone to do what they want. They want to take their kids to soccer. They want to be able to go to church if they want to. They want to be able to go to a crypto conference if they want to. They don't want to be looking at 4 times the taxes that they're paying now. They don't want all this crap. And so even if you just take, the faith side out of it, and you just look at like what people really want, they want to be free. They don't want to be ruled over. They don't want to be, dominated. They want choice. They want freedom. And that's one of the things that this election really, I think, highlights for people is you've got freedom or you've got oppression. What do you want, right? So I think that's why it's going to be 80-20. I lost your voice, brother. You muted yourself. You got yourself muted, brother. Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, I, I actually think you're right, and I pray that you're right because we we have to win this election. I actually did a video earlier this morning, and I basically explained how one of the reasons this election is so important is that pretty soon history is going to be locked into a blockchain, and that history, whoever puts it in, is going to write the next 1,000 years of history. Because as we see with like Black Lives Matter and Antifa, they're just like Hitler and Nazis and ISIS and ISIL or whatever you want to call them. That they want to wipe out history so they can rewrite it so it shows their side on the right side. And I think the adoption of cryptocurrency and blockchain over the next 4 years, we'll have education on blockchain. We'll have history books that are actually based in blockchain. We'll have actual legislation blockchained. We'll have a vote blockchained. And that incorruptibility means that in the future, 100 years from now, if the good side wins, then we have all of this truth locked in. If the bad side wins, they have their truth locked in, where they can educate the youth and the future generations on a lie that's locked in blockchain, and they can point at blockchain and go, well, it's of course it's true. They blockchained it back then. And that scares the hell out of me on we gotta win.
Yeah, there's a lot of truth to what you said. Their victors are typically the ones that write the history books, or people with lots of power and lots of money, like the Rockefellers have been doing it with their education system or healthcare system. A lot of stuff needs to be rewritten because it's just not factually true. They've been just corrupting, our education system for 100 years, our medical system for 100 years. It's really scary. A lot of people, for instance, they have no idea. They'll probably think I'm crazy when I say this, but you realize Abraham Lincoln was the founder of the Republican Party. He is the founder, the person that abolished slavery. Do you know that the Democrats are the ones that were behind the KKK? I mean, do they know that the Democrats were against abolishing slavery? They called, Abraham Lincoln every name in the book because they were trying to keep slavery in place. They don't realize that these Democrats, since at least Lincoln, to now, have been the biggest oppressors of people. And if you want to go red and blue, right and left, I don't believe in that crap. But if you want to just go party lines, if you look at the Democrats, you'll see people like Joe Biden, with his 1994 crime bill where he calls black people, super predators, and he locks up all these black people for just smoking weed. When you look at, he was buddies with David Duke, and he spoke at the Klansman's funeral Hillary Clinton spoke at the Klansman's funeral. Hillary Clinton used to wear a Confederate flag with her name on it when she was running for, I forget what it was, governor or something like that. So DA, I don't know, but it was like a Confederate flag because they embraced the South. Their mentors were Klansmen. People don't believe me, but they can look it up if they go outside of CNN and see this stuff. But to your point, these people that are rich and powerful, they rewrite the history books to make it look like people on the right are the racists when they're the furthest thing from it. They get along with everybody, and we're actually the ones that abolished slavery. It's like it's such an upside down world. It's like you look at Biden and you look at the Clintons and you look at Obama and you look at all the projection that they do. They blame Trump for everything. But if you notice, everything that they blamed him for are what they're now being caught red-handed being the ones that were actually doing it. So this is going to be tough to rewrite. And I think over the next 4 years, you're going to see a lot of truths exposed that's just going to blow people's minds. You're going to see more of these liberals that were diehard Clinton and Bernie people start to wake up and go, holy crap, this is real. You know, I was a victim of marketing. You know, I got brainwashed, you know, whatever. People are going to start waking up. And to your point on blockchain, yes, that you know, is going to be there forever if it's on like a Bitcoin or Ethereum type blockchain. And so it matters what the truth is, and the truth actually gets written into it versus just more propaganda and more muddying of the truth and just fallacies becoming truths, like we've seen, you know, from the Confederacy to now. Like most people, if you tell a Democrat that, hey, look, your party was the one that supported the Klan, your party was the one that didn't want to abolish slavery, they look at you like you're crazy. But they just, they're not educated when it comes to things like this. They just believe the talking points from, you know, CNN and say Trump's a racist. And it's like he's been helping, you know, the black communities for 40 years. Like, you know, every rapper that was out there, you know, that was black, we're singing songs about him. He's out there with his arms around him, taking pictures with him. And then he runs for president, and now he's a racist. It's like, what? It's like, it's insanity. But it's the talking points that they use to try to divide people. It doesn't matter how unfactual they are. If you do a little bit of research yourself, you'll see that it's just propaganda, and they're trying to create a narrative to suck, you know, the vote out of you, and then suck the wealth out of our country and put it into their pockets. For the first time in a long time, we have somebody that's trying to do the opposite. And this deep, wide swamp wants to maintain their power, keep their money, keep their control, and they're doing everything they can right now to try to make that happen. So you're going to see a crazy next couple of weeks, and you'll probably see a couple crazy weeks after the election. But the next 4 years, I think, is going to be incredible for every American if they want it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And we're actually going to wrap this up, guys. As for the right and the left paradigm, the issue is not the Democrats, the average Joe.
Sure.
You know, not Joe Biden, but the average Joe or Jane. And it's not the Republicans. The issues are the progressives. The progressives are the cancer that is in our government. It's those who are the eugenists and those who are moving us towards socialism and communism. That's where they've tricked us, is on the right and left. When really, like you say, we're all just average people out there. Just, you know, we want to go to work. We want to take care of our families. We love our wives. We love our husbands. You know, we don't hate. You know, it's really, hatred is very, very. It takes a lot of time to hate people, and most people don't have that much, you know, time. But all right, Rob, I appreciate it so much, brother. I appreciate you. I appreciate you coming on, sharing a little bit of your time with us, and And I think you really helped kind of clear things up and really, I think a lot more people are smiling now because you actually broke down like some numbers, like, all right, this number leads to this number and all that. And I really appreciate you in cryptos, and I appreciate you in the war for freedom.
Anytime, my brother. And just to strengthen your point, if you look, there's some good documentaries that just came out. Um, One of the things you should look at when you're talking about progressives, what you don't realize is there's outside countries trying to influence our country to pillage it. Places like Somalia, places like Iran, places like China, places like Russia, but they're not working for Trump or with Trump, right? So look at Ilhar Omar in Minnesota. Look at the Project Veritas video that it talks about the corruption there. Watch the Trump card. So you can find the Trump card, I think, on Amazon, Apple, it's Amazon, Apple, a whole bunch of different places. Just go to Trump card, the movie. You'll be able to find a bunch of places. Watch that. And then there's there's another one. It's called like something against the president. I forget the name of it off the top of my head. But if you go to my last video on my YouTube channel, you look at the pinned comment. I put links here for everybody. So if you just go to the Cryptobeadles latest YouTube video I did, there's 4 links in there. Watch those links. Most of the stuff is free. Like the Trump card, they might charge you to rent it because it's on Apple or something. But trust me, it's worth the $3 or $4. Watch those things, and you'll kind of see like what Ben's talking about. So always here for you, brother. Love you guys. God bless y'all, and hit me up anytime.
Absolutely. God bless you, brother. All right, guys, we're out of here. I'll see you live from the meetup tomorrow at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. Love you guys. I'll see you tomorrow.